I was at work and I heard the song in my head. At that point, I just wanted to get home to lay it into my sequencer before I forgot it. Now, I had a sequencer called a Yamaha QX1. I just heard piano and the basic groove, and I just got home and I got that down.
Hey everyone, welcome. Final day of IMS. Hope you've all been having an amazing time. Today we're incredibly honored to be joined by Marshall Jefferson, widely known as one of the founding fathers of electronic music. He's a man that needs really little introduction, but we'll give it a little one anyway. So hailing from the birthplace of house music in Chicago, it's safe to say that his impact can still be felt today, which is an incredible feat when you consider that your track was made in a pre-daw era. So welcome, Marshall, and thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. Thanks.
We're super excited, today to be diving into the making of such an iconic track. So let's take it back to that blank canvas of creativity. Where were you when you began making the track? And was there a particular vision or was there a moment of inspiration that catalyzed you to make this record?
I was at work and I heard the song in my head. And at that point, I just wanted to get home to lay it into my sequencer before I forgot it. Now, I had a sequencer called a Yamaha QX1. I just heard piano and the groove, the basic groove, and I just got home and I got that down. So my process at that time was, I wasn't really a musician, but I couldn't afford to pay keyboard players, so I had to play everything myself. So this is how a lot of us wrote our music back in the day in Chicago. We couldn't afford to pay keyboard players, right? And but we wanted to get our ideas down. So play the click. Okay, now play it back at 122. Now it's still a little choppy there, right? And what happened, the Yamaha QX1, it had a horrible quantize feature, right? So you couldn't really quantize, it was like really chop it up, and it wasn't very musical. So I quantized nothing. But that's the basic thing. I recorded at the slower speed, and I'd speed it up to 120. Right? So and when it sped up to 120, everybody said, "Oh, fuck, Marshall could really play keyboard good." I said, "Ha ha 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 ha," right? But I couldn't really play that well, as you could see then. But you could edit out all the mistakes, and if by chance it sounded kind of choppy like that, miraculously, the Yamaha QX1 had a note lengthening feature. It would blanket lengthen every note on a track. It'd take 30 minutes to do, but it would do it. It was a really miraculous thing. It would make it sound natural, even though you sped it up from 60 because, But at that time, I was just beginning, so I would record it at 40. I really had to lengthen the notes, but after a while, I knew exactly how much to lengthen the notes when I sped things up. And a lot of my friends, would come over and, I'm smarter than Marshall, I can do it too, and a lot of people from Chicago, they did the same thing. They played at the slower speed and sped it up. I got the idea from Led Zeppelin. People don't get mad at me for saying this, but Led Zeppelin's first album, Led Zeppelin 1, I was in rock and roll, right? It was at the normal speed, right? They recorded it and mixed it at normal speed. Every subsequent album, they sped up. They recorded it at a slower speed and sped it up to make themselves sound like better musicians. And Robert Plant, his actual voice was "You need coolant," right? But when it came out on record, "You need coolant," and he had to do various compensations for that, But you could even hear it. I could hear it in the timbre of the drums and the pitch. And I went to see Led Zeppelin live. A good example of this, if you're into rock music, is if you listen to Led Zeppelin, the song remains the same on Spotify or Tidal or Apple Music, and you watch the movie. The movie is much slower, timbre is lower, the pitch is lower, and they sped up the recording, the album from the movie. So you could actually hear that if you play them side by side. I heard this from the second Led Zeppelin album, So cut to 84 when I got my equipment, the Yamaha QX1. My friend, he was a guitarist. He needed a ride to Guitar Center, which is a music store in Chicago, right? So, I drove in the Guitar Center, and the sales guy, he was showing him this Yamaha QX1. He said, with this sequencer, you could play keyboards like Stevie Wonder, even if you don't know how to play it all. I said, wow, my friend, he's a guitarist. I said, man, don't believe that. You got to practice. You got to put in work. I believe I'm going to buy it, right? He said, well, where you work at? You got a job? I said, yeah, I work at the post office. Said, ding! So it gave me a big credit line, a $10,000 credit line. So I got the QX1. I'm ready to walk out the door. He said, wait a minute, you need to buy a keyboard. I said, what? I said, yeah, it's a sequencer. It sequences keyboards. It plays back keyboards. If you don't have a keyboard, you won't hear anything. I thought, oh yeah, you're right. So I bought the keyboard. He said, yeah, you need a drum machine too to help you keep your timing. I said, yeah, I do need a drum machine, right? So I bought the drum machine, right? And he said, hey, you need a mixer so you could hear everything at the same time. I said, well, I'm a DJ. I got a mixer already. He said, no, you need a recording mixer. You can hear 8 tracks at the same time with this. I said, yeah, I need a recording mixer, right? So I got that, right? So I got all this stuff, long story short, and the last thing I got was something they couldn't basically give away for $150. It was this thing called a TB303, right? So I got that. So I'm all set to go. And I got home, and my boy, he was nice enough to call all my friends and invite them over and watch me and stuff, and they took the piss out of me for like about 5 hours. That stupid sucker bought all this stuff, don't even know how to play. I felt like I was about like an inch taller when they got through with me. But I wrote my first song 2 days later because I knew exactly how I was going to do it. I was going to record at the slower speed, like Led Zeppelin, and speed it up. Of course, I sped it up a lot more than Led Zeppelin did, but I was a lot less talented than they were. I was coming from complete novice musician. I didn't know how to play nothing, no musical training whatsoever. I'm coming from scratch, right? So I'm playing at 40, and I speed it up. Boom, 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 boom. Speed it up to 120. Boom, 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 boom. I said, whoa, I got it now, right? So I make music. I did 2 songs. I did this song called I've Lost Control with Sleazy D, and I did that with the TB303, and I did this other song called Under You. It was called The Pleasure Exchange at the time. And I gave it to Ron Hardy, and he played them. And that was it. I started like giving a song to him a week, and people would come back to me because I was working the graveyard shift at the post office, which was midnight to 8:30 a.m. every day. Music Box was open from midnight to noon. After work, I was knackered. I wasn't going to no party, man. I just wanted to go home and, I gave the tapes, reel-to-reel tapes and cassettes to my friend Sleazy, who did I've Lost Control. And Sleazy blew up in the Music Box where Ron Hardy was playing it. He was a celebrity there. Everybody thought he was doing the music. Eventually, I got out there. And basically, I play at the slower speed and I speed it up. Anybody could do it. Americans seem to pick it up pretty quickly. Europeans seem to have a lot less confidence than Americans for some reason. Like, for instance, I could do a vocal session in the UK, and the singers, I got to sing it again. And it'll be an 11-hour session, and they got to have the vocals perfect, right? While an American, he'll go in there, one take, he'll screw up every note, and he can come out and say, ain't that the greatest shit you ever heard in your life? So like, there's a confidence. As a matter of fact, that confidence gap also happens in production. Like some of the women producers, like way more talented than guys, it's not good enough. I can't do music. The guys just hop up there, put any old shit down. All right, I'm jamming, But that's how it is. It's a confidence gap. I would come out to the UK and I do it. I say, yeah, you can do this too. And say, oh, no, I can't do it. And they'd go out and hire a keyboard player anyway. I said,
So were the vocals done in one take then with your friend Curtis?
Yeah, vocals were done in one take.
And do you remember how long it actually took to make the track from beginning to end?
Well, actually, no. He had a slight problem singing the "Gotta Have House" on the drum roll, right? But after that, he was able to go straight because I wanted him to have it on the drum roll. Boom, 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 boom. Gotta have house. After that, he was able to go straight through.
And tell us a bit more about this whole process. Like, why him? Did he come up with the lyrics? What inspired that?
Well, I came up with the lyrics on the spot, but we all worked at the post office. There was Curtis, he sang the lead vocals. Then there was Rudy Forbes, he sang background vocals, and Thomas Carr sang background vocals, and we called ourselves On the House. I was also on background vocals. And Curtis became the lead singer by default because he was always singing lead on the job while we were working. You know, but he would like replace like popular songs with obscene lyrics. It's like Billie Jean is not much, she just a hoe who, you know, and it was funny, but he was singing lead on the job, so you know, but he was like, oh, he was joking, right? So like when it came time to sing lead on all of On the House's stuff, you know, Curtis was the lead singer, and Curtis also taught me a lot of DJ tricks. We had this guys called the Hot Mix 5 in Chicago on the radio, and they would do tricks. They would play 40 songs an hour, and they would backspin and repeat and phase on every song. It was the greatest radio mixing I've ever heard in my life, and Curtis knew how to do all the tricks. So he was a DJ. He don't want anybody to know that, but he taught me all the DJ tricks. We were both DJs, and when Move Your Body came out, he said, man, don't tell anybody we're DJs and stuff. I said, why? Oh man, it's all DJs now. We got to be different. So, oh, okay.
And you know, these days it almost feels like tracks that you know talk about house music in itself is a little genre in itself. But you know, you were there in Chicago in those seminal first days. What was that like? What did house music mean to you at that point?
The main goal was a safe party. The Warehouse it was known throughout the city as a gay club, and Frankie Knuckles was the DJ there. When people would say house music, it was, you know, the gangsters would stay clear of the party because, you know, house music, I ain't going in there, you know, that's gay stuff, you know, right? But so it would be all races on one dance floor, all music on one dance floor. Be what is now known as techno on the same dance floor. You'd have like Frequency 7 by Visage, and you'd have Martin Circus, and you know, different dance genres, subgenres. It was one dance floor, and you would hear European music in Philadelphia and New York. You know, Don't Make Me Wait. You know, Peach Boys and Visual and stuff like that. And they would all be playing on one dance floor, and it was beautiful. So that's what I try to duplicate with my parties now. I try not to stick to one subgenre all night. You know, I think that's the most boring thing imaginable. I like dynamics, you know, something, you know, I like the record sounded as different from the last record that I play as possible. People talk about harmonic keys. You know, I don't want the last record sounding like the new record. I want people to know when a new record is coming on. The house scene at that time, it was like nothing I've ever seen. For one thing, a lot of black kids that weren't gay were pretending to be gay. You know, it was the craziest thing. Little history here. Chicago last decade, they say we had more gun murders than Afghanistan. The reason for that is in the early 70s, the Chicago Police Department put out a directive to eradicate all the gangs in Chicago. So they literally either murdered or put them in jail. And I know this from two perspectives. One, my father was a cop, and he quit after they killed Fred Hampton from the Black Panthers, and they were bragging about it when they did it. Oh, we got that. Also, my cousin Bobby Rush was second in command of the Black Panthers. So he became the leader of the Black Panthers when Fred Hampton got killed. So I knew it from two perspectives. What happened after that year, they either killed or put Chicago gang leaders in jail, because what happened was the Black Panthers tried to unite all the gangs in Chicago, and instead of them fighting each other, it would be like a peaceful situation. And when they eradicated all the gang leadership, the gang splintered to the present situation is still here after 50 plus years. There's a different gang on every block now. You walk to the next block and you'll get shot. So that's what the situation is in Chicago right now. Kids get caught in the crossfire and all that stuff, right? We hate rap in Chicago because that means somebody's going to shoot up the club.
If you want to hear the rest of our conversation, then head over to Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you get your podcasts.